What's up, guys? Welcome back to Supreme Micah. So in this upload, what I wanted to talk about is how can you grow bigger biceps? Now, I know this is a topic that many guys out there particularly like to hear. A few different reasons why guys like to train their biceps is typically because of the appeal to it in regards to impressions overall. Now, getting into the actual reasonings behind getting bigger biceps, I just want to let you know that for some reason there is this conception or this perception that if you lift heavier for training your biceps, that you will get bigger biceps, and by all means that is not the case. Going through one of my first tips is that you shouldn't actually lift too heavy when you're training your biceps or your arms. And one of the main reasons behind that is because your biceps actually tend to be very sensitive in regards to how they respond overall to resistance. And resistance, as I mentioned in prior videos, actually is a form of weightlifting in regards to such as exercise like the barbell. The barbell or the actual barbell curl is something that you would do to be able to isolate that particular muscle if that's what you want it to do. This is also very interesting because this actually goes into some of the content that I've created previously. It also depends on what your goals are. If strength is something that you're attempting to go for, then probably being able to lift heavier is something that you would want to do. Now, in regards to that muscle actually being noticeable or growing, then in terms of the content that I'm making for this particular video overall, then I would say that you would not have to lift as heavy as you think for that bicep to grow and show. I would say in regards to the amount of reps that you should do if you're aiming for growth and muscle gain is to make sure you aim that between at least maybe 10 or 15 reps overall. Now I'd like to talk about a part of the bicep, which is the brachii. This part of the bicep is what people are mostly familiar with because it is the lump within your arm that you can see, let's say, if you were to flex, for an example. This particular part of the bicep tends to be trained the most, and most of the other parts of the muscle tends to be forgotten about. Other parts of the bicep is that such of the brachialis or the brachioradialis. In order for you to be able to achieve the best results from weightlifting when you're training your arms or bicep is that you have to work each part of this muscle group. So if you're in the gym, make sure that you get familiar with those different parts of the muscle and make sure that you can weightlift with those muscles in mind. Now, a few different exercises that I actually love to do in regards to training my biceps is usually the preacher curl. The preacher curl is awesome, and I think it's very effective in being able to target the muscle overall, in this case, the brachii. And I love being able to hit that overall for that muscle. Now, in regards to weightlifting overall, something that you want to keep in mind is when you're targeting that specific muscle group, that you want to make sure that you're doing something that allows you to be able to pull, such as a bent over row, because when you're actually using those forms of motion to weightlift, you're actually using all those type of muscles. There's different type of push and pull exercises. So as I mentioned before, the bent over row is something that you'll definitely want to be able to use to be able to target your muscles overall from different exercises. Your biceps, just like any other muscle on your body, you definitely want to switch up the type of exercises that you're doing. Being consistent in the gym is the one thing, but also being able to trick your muscles and also being able to switch it up allows them to be effective in being able to see the maximum growth result. What happens is when you're training over several weeks, your muscle or your bicep, it becomes very adapted to what you're doing because it's expected. So being able to switch that up every day or throughout the week in regards to whatever body muscle that you're training, you're going to be able to actually get the best results and benefit from being able to grow that particular muscle. Another key thing to know is that when you are training your biceps, you also want to make sure that you're not overtraining them. As I mentioned before, the bicep tends to be a popular muscle group because people tend to like that. It's very sex appealing, and overall guys in general like to have big biceps and they like to show that off, but sometimes overtraining that can also lead to it not growing. I've spoken about this in previous videos. Just like any muscle group on your body, you also have to allow that bicep to actually rest and allow it to grow. So not overtraining it with too much weight, and also giving it the applicable rest so that you can be able to see those maximum benefits. Guys, so I've mentioned this before. When you're training your biceps, you really want to make sure that you're not overtraining them. Now, there's a difference between strength training and also bodybuilding, and I've touched on this in a prior upload, but you have to remember, going back to what I said earlier in this video, is that when you're targeting your biceps, you have to keep in mind that they're smaller muscles, and that means they're more prone to damage, meaning you do not have to train them as effective compared to bigger muscles. So it being a smaller muscle, having to use weights that are less in weight is usually overall pretty effective. Guys, keep in mind that your biceps, because of them being a smaller muscle, they get easily fatigued. That means when you're in the gym, you do not have to do 3 or more different type of exercises. I would say when you're targeting your biceps, I would say keep those exercises at 2 isolated exercises, and I would say isolated exercises would be something such as the bicep curl, because that's mainly targeting your bicep overall. But make sure that when you are incorporating different exercises, that you can also do exercises such as the bent over row, because not only is it targeting your biceps, but it's also targeting other muscles, meaning that it's not solely isolated on the bicep. Therefore, you will not overly train that particular muscle group, if that makes sense. Make sure that you're keeping your exercises limited for maximum results. Make sure that you're incorporating other forms of exercises to be able to target those muscles effectively. So this is a topic that I'd like to be able to touch on briefly, but I really want to cover this and more content in some of my upcoming videos. You really also have to pay attention to form, and I could not stress this enough. If you're not exercising with the correct form, a lot of the work that you're putting into the gym in regards to building muscle, if that was your goal, you won't see that at its maximum benefit. So really pay attention to how you're lifting the weights. And I've spoken about this in prior videos. Do not lift too heavy. I want to be able to concentrate on some more content in regards to that as well. But if you're in the gym, you're really focusing on being able to make sure that your form is at its maximum in regards to achieving the best benefits while you're there. So just make sure that you're not lifting too heavy. When you're lifting too heavy, you're sacrificing your overall form, and you're actually able to see better results when you're effectively able to train that particular muscle group. Guys, as always, I really do appreciate you for tuning into this channel. Make sure that you hit the thumbs up button. Make sure that you subscribe, and also leave a comment, okay? I'm liking those comments. I've mentioned that before. I appreciate it. Thank you.